a dope rapper, but I think sometimes Meek falls victim to I have to explain myself because they be playing with my name.
Yeah.
And the more he responds, the more they.
This is what I look for. When I see a success, I'm looking for anything
to say that they didn't do it on their own?
Detain it. Not
So Jason Lee isn't just teasing Jay-Z. He's holding a nuclear bomb over his career, and the countdown has already started. What began as whispers on his Hollywood Unlocked podcast has turned into a live detonation threat. Lee claims he's in possession of photos from Sean Diddy Combs' notorious freak-off gatherings, the same private events that prosecutors later described as elaborate performances he arranged, directed, and recorded. In Lee's words, these aren't harmless party snapshots. They're images that could destroy one of music's most carefully built reputations. According to Lee, one photo allegedly shows Jay-Z with another man. Some insiders go further, claiming that man could be Diddy himself. The implication alone has sent the industry into lockdown mode. We heard the panic in Lee's voice when he addressed Jay directly on air. Jay, I know you're watching because you got people calling me. Stop having people call me. You can call me yourself. It wasn't just a taunt, it was a signal. If Jay's team is reaching out, that suggests they're not treating this story as nonsense. They're treating it as a threat. For a man who's built an empire on control, music, branding, narrative, any sign of panic is telling, especially when that empire depends on a public image that can't coexist with rumors from Diddy's shadow world.
It's probably leaning towards guilt. Now, on the racketeering, I agree with you that the predicate acts may be found, but that's not all they need. There's an ultimate question. The first question on the jury verdict form is, do you find him guilty or not guilty of racketeering? Before you even get to the predicate acts, which you only get to if you find guilt, they could just be hung up on that question and say, this guy's not Tony Soprano. I am not convinced that I even want to find guilt.
By the time Lee's clip went viral in August 2024, Diddy's legal crisis was already reaching critical mass. Federal prosecutors had charged him that September with racketeering and transportation for illicit purposes, citing the same freak-off parties Lee mentioned. Court documents described them as events Diddy arranged, directed, and electronically recorded. Those recordings became part of the federal case. That single detail, electronically recorded, has fueled weeks of speculation. If Jay-Z was present at even one of those events, then somewhere in that seized evidence could be footage the world was never meant to. It's no longer about gossip, it's about digital proof sitting in a government archive.
And why he's speaking out now.
He said he's speaking out because he believes Diddy's a predator, he wants accountability, and he doesn't want someone like this to run unchecked in the future.
And insiders from Diddy's own past have added more smoke. Former Bad Boy artist Chopper told The Art of Dialogue that he once walked into his studio and saw two powerful men doing things that were uncomfortable to my eyes. He didn't name names, but everyone connected the dots. If Diddy was known for intimate encounters with male industry figures, and Jay-Z's name now surfaces in connection to those parties, the question isn't whether something happened, it's who's willing to confirm it. Then came the lawsuit from producer Rodney Lil Rod Jones, who accused Diddy of pressuring him into same-gender situations. Within that filing, Lil Rod alleged Diddy bragged about being intimate with a Philadelphia rapper who dated Nicki Minaj. Fans immediately guessed Meek Mill, but others wondered if that was deliberate misdirection to shield a bigger name. As Diddy's case deepened, Jay-Z's behavior grew impossible to ignore. He canceled the 2024 Rock Nation Brunch, the annual pre-Grammy ritual that's as much about power as it is about networking. The cancellation stunned the industry. That event had survived pandemics, label feuds, even global touring schedules. But it didn't survive Diddy's indictment. For the first time since 2011, the doors stayed closed. A coincidence? Maybe. But then 50 Cent posted an image of Jay on Instagram with the caption, "Jay in hibernation, he ain't coming outside till this thing with Puff blows over." When even 50 Cent, the master of public trolling, treats your silence as a punchline, it signals that everyone in the business already knows something they're not saying.
So that's just competitive energy.
Competitiveness.
All right, so you and Diddy, you and Puff cool?
No, I don't really rock with him
okay,
like that.
damn, all right. I didn't know what that meant.
Okay.
Then. All right, okay.
We can trace Jay-Z's closeness to Diddy back decades. They came up together in the late 90s, collaborated after Biggie's passing, and rose to billionaire status side by side. They were photographed together at countless events. The Rock Nation Brunch in 2019, Jay Khaled's Hollywood Walk of Fame ceremony in 2022, private celebrations in Los Angeles and New York. When Diddy was indicted, Jay-Z issued no statement, no support, no distance, just silence. That silence, in context, has started to sound like damage control. It's the kind of pause that happens when lawyers are rewriting playbooks.
In a blistering statement, Jay-Z accuses Jane Doe's attorney of trying to blackmail him. He said further, quote, "These allegations are so heinous in nature that I implore you to file a criminal complaint, not a civil one. Whomever would commit such a crime against a minor should be locked away."
There's also the uncomfortable timeline. In December 2024, a woman filed an amended lawsuit accusing both Diddy and Jay-Z of a violent encounter at a house party back in 2000. Jay's team immediately called it extortion, releasing a statement that the attorney behind the case was attempting to blackmail him. The legal wording mirrored what Jason Lee is now being accused of doing, holding damaging information and demanding acknowledgement. The parallel hasn't gone unnoticed by media outlets or by fans parsing every phrase Jay's lawyers release. Meanwhile, industry veterans have been whispering for years about hip-hop's hidden subculture. Terrence Dean's 2008 memoir described an underground network of executives and artists leading double lives. Heterosexual in lyrics, very different in private. Dean never named names, but the coded details about a New York mogul with movie star friends kept resurfacing online every time Diddy threw another all-white party in the Hamptons. Now that same network is being dragged into daylight through court filings and gossip broadcasts. The narrative isn't about who's part of the rainbow community or straight. It's about who built empires on deception and fear of exposure.
Referred to me as Wild King Nights. And what a Wild King Night was when him and a guest would go to a hotel room or be at his home, his bedroom, and they would have intimate gatherings. I would have to go and prep that hotel room, which consisted of baby oil, astroglide.
And if the rumors about those recordings are true, there's more coming. Federal sources have confirmed that Diddy's seized electronics include years of footage from his estates in Los Angeles, Miami, and the Hamptons. Lee claims to have copies of at least some of those images. Photos passed around quietly among insiders long before the indictments. Whether he obtained them legally or not is unclear. What matters is that Jay-Z's name keeps surfacing in connection with events that prosecutors now treat as evidence of organized exploitation. The line between witness and participant blurs the longer this story runs. Even within Jay-Z's circle, cracks are starting to show. Former associates have noted that Beyoncé's public appearances have become increasingly separate from her husband's. She attended the 2025 Met Gala solo, gave a cryptic speech about truth always finding light, and skipped joint interviews about their upcoming ventures. For fans, it could mean nothing. For insiders, it looks like insulation. When Jason Lee says he's been getting calls from their people, he's talking about crisis containment. And every unanswered call adds to the sense that something explosive is being managed behind closed doors.
Now we've done 3 others where we've laid out the prosecution case. This time, we're talking specifically, what is Diddy's defense? And we decided to test it with a mock jury, and it is fascinating.
It is absolutely fascinating, keeping in mind that the real jury will be sitting down to do this. The trial starts first week.
The industry has seen scandals before, but not like this, where billion-dollar brands, legal trials, and hidden recordings intersect. The whispers about Diddy's private lifestyle have always existed at the margins, but with each leak and lawsuit, the circle tightens. Now the focus isn't on Diddy alone. It's on the men who attended his gatherings, who stayed silent, who helped protect an image that might have been built on a lie. Jay-Z didn't just build Roc Nation. He built a legend of power, masculinity, and loyalty. If Jason Lee's alleged evidence surfaces, that legend could collapse overnight. Because Jay-Z didn't just marry Beyoncé in 2000. He married a cover story. And if those photos exist, that story is already starting to unravel. Jay-Z's empire wasn't built on music. It was built on an image, one that could crumble if those photos ever see the light of day. His billion-dollar brand rests on the myth of control, loyalty, and family. But every myth needs a structure to lean on, and for Jay-Z, that structure was his marriage. In the year 2000, when headlines were still buzzing about Diddy's Manhattan nightclub scandal, Jay began publicly dating Beyoncé. By 2008, they were married, the picture-perfect couple of modern celebrity. But we have to ask, was that marriage a love story, or a carefully constructed shield against whispers that threatened to surface long before Jason Lee ever turned on his microphone? The timing makes people talk. Diddy's shooting trial dominated 1999, and Jay-Z was caught in his own legal turmoil after being charged with assault that same year. Both men were fighting for survival in a business built on bravado. Then, suddenly Jay-Z emerged with a new image, the devoted partner, the gentleman mogul. The contrast to his peers' chaos. Insiders at the time called it a rebranding move. But when we line up the years, Diddy's scandal, Jay-Z's arrest, the first sighting of him and Beyoncé, together, it starts to look less like coincidence and more like calculation. That's the unspoken theory now resurfacing. The marriage wasn't just romance, it was reconstruction, a firewall.
I want you to think about this. Allegedly, Sean Carter is responsible for enacting Hype Williams to put Aaliyah on a faulty plane to move her out the way as punishment for rejecting him, and so he could level up Beyoncé.
Jay-Z didn't just marry Beyoncé. He married the one person who could never be linked to these rumors. But what if she already knew? Beyoncé's 2013 interview with Oprah still echoes across timelines. She described their bond as a foundation of friendship that lasted more than a year before they ever went on a date. To most fans, it sounded sweet, even humble. But when viewed through the prism of the current allegations, that foundation starts to look like a test phase, a strategic partnership forming before the love story officially began. They were already two rising forces in a culture obsessed with appearances. He needed stability, she needed protection from an industry notorious for exploiting women. Their union became the safest kind of transaction, two brands reinforcing each other's perfection while walling off everything imperfect behind closed doors.
Weirdo. Don't get no what you got in your head, that neural link. You'll never outthink me. Ever.
That symmetry worked for more than 2 decades. Beyoncé became the cultural North Star of virtue and grace, the antidote to chaos in Jay-Z's orbit. Together, they built a mythology of power couples that even politics borrowed imagery from. But the balance came at a cost. Beyoncé's silence became his armor. Every controversy that touched Jay-Z, from lawsuits to alleged affairs, was absorbed by her serenity. When he stumbled, she turned pain into art, as she did with her Lemonade era, transforming personal scandal into collective empowerment. Yet behind that resilience sits a haunting question. Was her restraint the product of strength or of awareness? If she knew the rumors were real all along, then her control wasn't forgiveness, it was foresight.
Up cars. Yeah. Is he this gangster that behind the scenes that is that him? Or is that
Shout out to Wendy Williams.
As 2024 unfolded, that question returned with more weight. The same week Jason Lee claimed to have the incriminating photos, Beyoncé's legal team quietly issued new content protection notices, expanding her intellectual property filings to include visual likeness and brand association. Industry lawyers noticed how unusually defensive that move was for an artist who already controls her image like a fortress. The timing aligned precisely with Jay-Z's silence and the sudden cancellation of joint appearances. It looked less like coincidence and more like coordinated containment, two halves of one empire sealing every possible leak before it reached the surface. Then came the legal threats that reminded everyone how fast the Carter machine moves when cornered. Jaguar Wright's interview on Piers Morgan's show was erased from the internet within hours after Jay-Z's attorneys intervened. It wasn't a debate, it was an erasure. The network's statement later confirmed that Jay-Z's legal team demanded the material be cut for factual inaccuracy. But they didn't stop there. Multiple bloggers received cease and desist letters that same week, warning against repeating baseless claims of criminal activity. To the casual observer, that's just crisis management. To those who follow Jay-Z's trajectory, it looks like institutionalized fear. If they're this aggressive now, what kind of machinery was running in 2000? Before streaming, before social media, before a world where truth could go viral overnight. Every layer of the story circles back to one uncomfortable idea. The greatest illusion isn't the alleged footage or the whispered relationships, it's the marriage itself. The real scandal isn't the photos, it's the marriage certificate, and whether it was signed to bury a secret or to weaponize it.
And I'm not saying allegedly.
Oh.
I'm saying, Sean Carter, you're a piece of shit. Taking Pimp C wasn't bad enough. You just want to go down there and you want to just remove all of the balls from every real gangster in Houston.
Things took a darker turn in late 2024 when a lawsuit filed in New York named both Diddy and Jay-Z in connection to a private event held in the same year those photos are rumored to come from. The plaintiff, known publicly as Jane Doe, alleged that she was mistreated at one of Diddy's house parties in 2000 after drinking something that made her woozy. The lawsuit initially described an unnamed male celebrity alongside Diddy, but by December it was amended to identify Jay-Z directly. His lawyers denied the accusation instantly, calling the case a calculated extortion attempt, and insisted there was no truth to the claim. Still, the question lingers. If that party was one of Diddy's notorious freak-offs, could this be the night where the alleged photos were taken? And if so, what was Jay-Z's role? Participant? Bystander? Or collateral in someone else's game?
This morning, rap mogul Jay-Z is denying allegations he assaulted a 13-year-old girl alongside rapper Sean Diddy Combs. That civil lawsuit filed against Combs in October was amended Sunday to include Jay-Z. The accuser, identified only as Jane Doe, says she was assaulted by both men.
The lawsuit rattled the industry. Jay-Z's silence stretched for months, even as public figures began taking sides. Then came Bobby Shmurda's interview on the Danza Project, where he accused Roc Nation, Jay-Z's own label, of planting rainbow community rumors about artists who leave the company. Shmurda said, "You leave that team, they come for you." It sounded like a wild claim at first until fans realized how it could cut both ways. If the label is willing to smear outsiders, what would they do to protect their founder? Suddenly, the machine around Jay-Z didn't look like just a record label. It looked like an information fortress. The power of that fortress became visible when Piers Morgan publicly apologized to Jay-Z and Beyoncé after airing an interview with Jaguar Wright. Wright had made severe claims linking the couple to Diddy's alleged misconduct, and within days, lawyers forced the footage to be edited out. Morgan admitted, "Their lawyers contacted us to say those claims were totally false and have no basis in fact." But it wasn't the apology that raised eyebrows. It was the speed. Why the rush to scrub the footage if the claims had no weight? For some watchers, that fast reaction only confirmed how much there was to lose if the wrong story gained traction. Meanwhile, prosecutors revealed during Diddy's trial that his so-called freak-offs weren't just whispered about, they were recorded. Not cell phone clips, but high-definition footage stored across properties in Miami, Los Angeles, and the Hamptons. Federal agents confirmed they seized digital material during the raids in early 2024, evidence said to show elaborate performances involving both celebrities and hired guests. Those recordings are now in custody, but nobody outside law enforcement knows what's on them or who's featured. If Jason Lee already has still images, what else might exist in private archives or in the hands of people who know how valuable a scandal can be?
Same kind of extortion that we heard when Cassie took the stand and testified on that airplane ride back from France. Diddy said, "You don't do a freak off, I'm going to release one of the freak off videos that you are profiled in and humiliate you."
It's no surprise that paranoia has taken over Hollywood's upper floors. Former associates say Jay-Z has retreated from public life, skipping events, cutting appearances, keeping communications strictly through lawyers. One producer told us, "Everyone's locking their phones, deleting chats. It's like 2003 all over again." The entertainment lawyers are reportedly bracing for subpoenas, fearing that those seized recordings could become discovery material. If they include any recognizable faces, the fallout could make previous celebrity scandals look small. We can see the chain reaction forming. Once an image cracks, sponsors hesitate, collaborations freeze, and partners distance themselves. For Jay-Z, who controls Roc Nation, beverage brands, and streaming platforms, reputation is equity. That's why Jason Lee's claims are being treated less like gossip and more like nuclear leverage. He isn't just another commentator chasing clicks, he's holding something the industry believes exists, and that belief alone is powerful enough to shake billionaires. Every empire has its weak point, and this one seems to be the blurred line between private indulgence and public performance. The more we learn about Diddy's world, the more we realize it wasn't just his world. It was an ecosystem of stars, executives, and enablers protecting each other while projecting dominance. Jason Lee might have cracked the first layer, but beneath that lies a network that spans decades and fortunes. The silence from Jay-Z's camp might not be guilt, it might be fear of the ripple effect if the truth, whatever it is, becomes public. Jason Lee isn't just blackmailing Jay-Z, he's holding up a mirror to an entire industry. And if those photos exist, the reflection might include more than just one rap mogul. The question isn't whether Jay-Z was at those parties, it's who else was there with him and how far they're all willing to go to keep it buried. What happens when the walls of power start to whisper back? Tell us what you think below, and remember, truth has a strange way of resurfacing. Until next time, stay watching, stay wondering, and stay ready for the next revelation.